What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our downtown studios. I am John Ramdeen. He is Robin Black, and 2016 saw a bunch of mixed martial arts legends retire from the sport. Dan Henderson, Uriah Faber, former Strikeforce and UFC champion Miesha Tate. And 2017, we're seeing, I don't know if it's the passing of the torch, because we've seen Mirko Cro retire a couple of times, I think. But this is the way to go out. You get a couple of big victories. It's the best you've looked in quite some time. You get to leave the sport with a title around your waist. Why do you believe that Mirko Cro has decided to call it a day at this point?
You got to do it one day. You're going to fight at 60, 80? You know what I mean?
But they all have the desire, don't they?
Hey, that's the thing. That's just it. And you talk to sports psychology consultants, David Mullins, we do a podcast with him here. He's like, you know that feeling? Oh, man, I still want to fight. I still got the fire. You're going to have that when you're 80. You're going to have that on your deathbed. So that in and of itself is not a reason to fight, because that will always be there. That'll be there when you no longer are physically or mentally capable of fighting. So that is in and of itself not a reason to fight. That will be there regardless. So you got to stop at some point. The lucky few get to go out. Dan Henderson right down to the wire for the title, close. Right down to the wire. And Uriah going out on a nice victory at home while the audience is screaming his name, you know, and Mirko Cro going out like that, you know. And Tito is going to look to try to beat Chael coming up and go out that way. That's not an easy task.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, Tito Ortiz, Chael Sonnen, the main event in Bellator, and Tito Ortiz saying, no matter what, it is finally time for me to call it a day. This will most likely, be my last time, be the last time I step foot inside of the cage. It's going to be a hell of a fight for Tito Ortiz. He's really accomplished it all. He's a name like Mirko Cro. When you think of the developmental years of mixed martial arts, when it turned from no holds barred into MMA, or style versus style into mixed martial arts, or cage fighting into mixed martial arts, Tito Ortiz was one of those characters that bridged the gap between professional wrestling, the gravedigger thing. Yeah. Every time he would win a fight, he created interest, and I guess he's had enough.
Yeah, and I mean, that guy has been through a lot of injuries. We had him in here years ago.
Yeah.
It's probably three. We had
maybe
the
longer,
standing at the desk 5 rounds version
right.
3 years ago, probably. That guy's head didn't move super easy. He seemed all binded up, you know, and he's going out there and fighting, you know, a tough dude in Chael Sonnen for his last fight. Both Chael and Tito have given a lot, but Tito is one of these guys because he's the original heel.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily remember, as a group, as a people right now, history is not something we're spending enough time on, not something we're spending enough time both appreciating and learning from. You go back and you look at history, you see what not to do, what mistakes not to make. You also see that the cycles of life go and change, and you see them over and over again. You should remember Tito Ortiz. You should appreciate Tito Ortiz, and I hope people do.
Chael Sonnen, though, it doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon. And they say you shouldn't look past the opponent that you have in your sights. Chael Sonnen clearly looking past Tito Ortiz, because he said, I want Vanderlei Silva next. I want the biggest names humanly possible for the last number of fights that Chael Sonnen will probably have in mixed martial arts. Do you like his approach?
Yes. You know, that's a rule. Don't look past your opponent. Rules weren't made for Chael Sonnen. Chael breaks all the rules. He breaks every rule that there is. He does it proudly, and he brags about it, and he puts it in your face. And that's what he's going to do. He intends to go in there. I mean, when you just look at where he's at physically, you know, he's only a couple of years from fighting Rashad Evans. You know, he's only a couple of years from fighting John Jones. This is a guy, well, almost fighting John Jones. That toe, man, if that thing was, you know, one more few minutes, and he was the champion of the world.
Yeah.
He broke that guy's toe off. But Chael Sonnen's in shape, and Chael Sonnen's mentally good, and Tito's going to be real visceral early. It's going to be a real exciting 3, 4, 5 minutes, but if Chael ends up on top, it's going to be a rough one. But on the other hand, if Tito's on top, that's where he's going to feel good, and he's going to feel like he can do it.
We talked about Mirko Cro. We know where he's skilled in the stand-up department. When Mirko Cro fights, we're all hoping to see a high kick knockout. Normally, that's what we get from Mirko Cro. For Chael Sonnen, we all want him to talk the hell out of a fight, and then when the time comes, take you down and smash you up, just like Tito Ortiz. BJ Penn, a lot of people believe that he should have retired from mixed martial arts. He has called it a day in the past, but now looking to make his return. What I love is that he still wants to fight. BJ Penn's return to mixed martial arts was supposed to materialize a long time ago. Opponents fell apart. There was this issue or that issue. But the Phoenix date is coming up. Yair Rodriguez is his opponent. What are you anticipating from BJ Penn at 38 years of age?
I'm excited to see it. I mean, he wouldn't be here, and Greg Jackson is, anybody can say, oh, one of the best minds in the game. But start looking at really how his mind works. Start looking at the real levels that he's working on. It's quite impressive. I look back in, 4 or 5 years ago in interviews with Greg Jackson, and you see the levels that he's working on, the different approaches he's taking to looking at sort of the macro game. It is fascinating. What was it? It was Mark Twain, I believe, said, age is about mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. That sounds nice until a guy who's 24 is kicking you in the head. You have to make it real. BJ needs to take it to the mats. And I don't mean get the takedown and play jiu-jitsu. Take it to the mats is a term that wrestlers use when they have conflict. They say, let's just get in there and take it to the mats. You know what I mean? That's what BJ needs to do. Just get in there, have some conflict with this young guy. Remember how much he loves to fight. And remember how good he is. And, you look back over the last couple of years, he's only won 1 out of his last 7. There's a draw against John Fitch. Those first couple of rounds, man, BJ looked awesome. Knocked out Matt Hughes. But he's lost to Frankie Edgar 3 times in that time. Is that really going to tell you what will happen against him, against a 24-year-old kid? Also, bear in mind, Greg Jackson did work with Yair Rodriguez a fair bit, so he has a full picture of what's going on there. We don't know what's going to happen. You hope that BJ Penn comes out there and at the end of it, he's licking blood off his gloves and he's had the time of his life.
Yeah, one of the things we look at with BJ Penn comes down to skill and his skill development. And we've seen it. Like, there's very few areas that BJ Penn is weak in. He seems to excel in every area that he decides that, okay, I want this to be a strength of mine, and it becomes a strength. One of the things that it seems that he's lacked is motivation to stay at the top of the mountain. With this move to Greg Jackson and the fact that he does not need to fight, he's been fighting his entire life, his family has money, why do you believe that he still wants to compete? Is it simply because you pointed out before that these fighters just have a burning desire that will never go away? Yeah,
I think that is a part of it, for sure. I mean, but again, that's always going to be there. Somehow, it's often we're projecting these things. We look at information that we have, the history of how we've watched these people perform. I've never had dinner with BJ Penn. I've invited him for tacos many times, and he's never come out with me. But you look at it, and there's a feeling that you get that he is without a rudder, without direction when he's not fighting, that he's not sure who he is or what he's about. And those guys, for people like that, if they can truly immerse themselves back in it, they feel authentic. They feel like themselves. They feel like there is a meaning to what their life is. And if truly BJ Penn is that guy, and that's why he's fighting, tune in. It's going to be exciting. That rhymed. Fighting and exciting. Never even put those 2 words together before, but I'll be doing it a lot now.
When you think about that 2.0 era of mixed martial artists, the Tito Ortizes, the BJ Penns, the Sonnens, the Vanderlei Silva, what do you expect after they are all gone from the sport? Do you anticipate that you talk about people not remembering the history, do you believe a new path will be forged for mixed martial arts? It's
changing so rapidly. It's changing so quickly. And a lot of these guys, were these iconoclasts. They were this thing. This is BJ Penn. And I mean, we're still here talking about his return, excited about his return. And the old footage of him is grainy stuff of him throwing punches. You know what I mean? This has been a long time. I'm not as sure that the hot superstars that burn bright now, that'll be true of them in 10 and 15 years. But I think they're progressing the game so quickly that in 6 weeks we can see somebody break out that we had no idea was capable of something. The game is accelerating. We've seen it in all kinds of sports, especially extreme sports where there's a necessity to be in a physiological flow state to be able to do it. That allows learning in real time, and the game is changing so rapidly, which is why it's scary for a BJ Penn to come in unless he's come in as a young man with a young man mentality and he's learning the new game as well as having the veteran savvy.
Couple of interesting fights to kick off 2017. Tito Ortiz taking on Chael Sonnen, and then we'll see the return of BJ Penn.